Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of our podcast, where we dive deep into the wonders of the ancient oceans. I'm John, your host, and today we're going on a journey millions of years back in time to explore the incredible world beneath the waves. We'll be uncovering the mysteries of the massive creatures that once ruled these vast waters, the incredible changes in Earth's oceans, and how all of this still affects our world today. Whether you're a science nerd, a history buff, or just someone who loves a good ocean adventure, this episode is going to have something for you. So, grab a drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into the deep past of ancient oceans. Before we begin, I want to remind you to subscribe if you haven't already, so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to leave a review. It helps us bring more awesome content like this to you. All right, let's start at the very beginning. Imagine Earth 4.5 billion years ago, just a hot, molten ball. No oceans, no life, nothing like the blue planet we know today. But over time, through volcanic activity, meteor impacts, and cooling, Earth's first oceans began to form. And let me tell you, these early oceans were nothing like what we see now. In today's episode, we'll break it all down. We'll talk about how the first oceans came into existence, the bizarre creatures that ruled them, and how ancient ocean ecosystems were the cradle of life on Earth. Plus, we'll look at some real-life sea monsters that would give even the scariest creatures in modern horror movies a run for their money. So, we left off with the formation of Earth's early oceans. But what kind of life could survive in such a wild, early environment? The oceans were Earth's cradle of life, but the first creatures were nothing like what we see today. Think single-celled organisms, small, simple, but revolutionary. These little guys were the ancestors of everything we know today, from fish to humans. But it took a long time, and I mean a really long time, for life to get from simple cells to something a bit more exciting. Let's fast forward a bit to around 600 million years ago. This is when things get really interesting. The seas were teeming with life during the Cambrian explosion, a time when life forms rapidly evolved into all sorts of crazy shapes and sizes. Picture this, an ocean full of strange, alien-like creatures, some with spiky bodies, others with multiple eyes, and even some with what look like armored shields. It's almost like something out of a sci-fi movie. But the most important development? Early sea predators started appearing. And guess what? They were huge. Creatures like the Anomalocaris. Imagine a meter-long predator with grasping claws and a circular mouth full of teeth. Yeah, pretty terrifying if you were a smaller organism. Now, as we go deeper into the ancient oceans, we come across some of the real giants. The oceans of the Mesozoic era, when dinosaurs roamed the land, were ruled by massive marine reptiles. These guys make modern-day sharks look like puppies. One of the most famous was the Mosasaurus. This beast could grow up to 15 meters long, basically a gigantic sea lizard. Picture the ocean's version of a T-Rex, but with fins. And then, of course, there's the iconic Megalodon, the shark that dominated the seas millions of years ago. At over 15 meters long, Megalodon was the king of the ancient ocean food chain, preying on large marine mammals like whales. Can you even imagine swimming with something that massive? Just the thought of it is enough to give you chills. These colossal creatures ruled their watery domains for millions of years, but like the dinosaurs on land, they too eventually met their end. Why? Well, that's another story involving drastic climate changes, shifting seas, and even mass extinction events. But what's amazing is how much of their history is still hidden in the depths of the ocean. Fossils have given us a glimpse, but the ocean is vast, and who knows what else is waiting to be discovered down there. All right, so we've gone through the wild Cambrian explosion, met some terrifying sea monsters from the Mesozoic era, and even touched on the extinction of creatures like Megalodon and the marine reptiles. But what happened next? Well, even though these giants disappeared, the oceans were still home to fascinating creatures, and evolution didn't stop. Far from it. After the mass extinction that wiped out the dinosaurs and many of these massive sea creatures around 66 million years ago, the oceans went through a sort of reset. The creatures that survived had to adapt to a completely new world. And in this new environment, new species started to dominate. The rise of modern marine life. During the Cenozoic era, the age we're still in today, marine mammals started to emerge as the new rulers of the seas. Think whales, dolphins, and seals. Now, here's the crazy part. Some of these mammals actually evolved from land animals. Can you imagine a creature living on land deciding, nah, I'm going back to the ocean? Well, that's what happened with the ancestors of whales. Millions of years ago, these early ancestors looked like wolf-like creatures, but eventually evolved into the ocean giants we know today. Whales are one of the most fascinating evolutionary stories. Take the Basilosaurus, a whale ancestor that lived about 40 million years ago. Despite its name, it wasn't a reptile, even though saurus means lizard. These guys could grow up to 18 meters long and were apex predators. But as evolution worked its magic, whales became the gentle giants of today, feeding on tiny plankton and krill. Quite the transformation, huh? The oceans as we know them. As time went on, coral reefs became bustling hubs of life, and today they're some of the most biodiverse places on Earth. Sharks continued to evolve as well. Though none reached the monstrous size of Megalodon, species like the great white shark became apex predators in their own right. And let's not forget about octopuses, squids, and other cephalopods. These intelligent, adaptable creatures also thrived in the changing oceans. The giant squid, for example, still remains a mysterious deep-sea creature, rarely seen by humans. Even today, we're still discovering new species and mysteries in the deep sea. Remember, we've explored only about 5% of the world's oceans. That means there are entire ecosystems, ancient fossils, and who knows what else still waiting to be found. The oceans are Earth's final frontier, and they hold stories going back billions of years. And who knows, maybe the next big discovery is right around the corner. So, what's next for the oceans? Climate change, pollution, and human activity are all affecting marine life in ways we're just beginning to understand. But one thing's for sure, the history of the ocean is still being written, and we're all a part of it. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Waves of History. Be sure to subscribe and join us next time as we dive into another chapter of Earth's incredible past.